Today's Toy Spot, we are having a look at the Mattel Collector Thundercats subscription service. We're looking today at Jackalman. Speaking, Spot's had this figure for a bit. I think I've had it for a couple of weeks now, and I had put him to the side with the intent that I was going to be reviewing him next, and I just lost track, just lost my head. So we're going to be having a look at the figure now, and I'm excited on the one end. On the other end, I'm thinking to myself, gosh, it's a shame that we don't really even know what's going to be going on with the subscription service for Thundercats. We know that Super 7 is going to be still picking up a mantle of the Masters of the Universe, which debatably I still think, like, Mattel was doing very well with the direction that they were going, giving us filmation versions of the He-Man characters, and now it seems like Super 7 is just kind of giving us ultimate versions of the characters. Not really feeling like it was going, it seems like it's going back to square one. The Thundercats, on the other hand, the one that I was really excited for, just seems to be sitting in limbo with a possibility that it's never going to come back. So that's a little bit sad. Maybe that was another reason why I didn't get to this figure just yet, but we're going to be having a look at him now. Okay, so Jackalman, much like much like Lion-O, comes featured in the black box. And on the one side, you've got Jackalman, and nothing on the back. On the other side, their lair, which would have been cool. Maybe down the road we would have gotten some of the layers, but again, we have no idea what's going to happen. Now this is the mailer envelope, or the mailer box, so what you can do is just slide it out, and you've got yourself Jackalman there, along with his interchangeable hands. He comes with a club, and he comes with his long axe. Figure looks good, but again, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking to myself, it's hard to get really excited for a figure when you kind of know it's one of the only 4 figures that we're going to be getting. The back of the package gives us a read-up, says, loyalty is very important to Jackalman. Unfortunately, he's loyal only to himself. As a member of the mutants enemies of Thundercats, Jackalman leads the Jackalmen, a group of humanoid jackals from planet Plundar. Jackalman's real name is Kanar, and regardless of his name, there's no question that the scavenger is conniving coward whose intentions can never be trusted, except when it comes to him using any means possible to destroy the Thundercats. Apparently, collectors are king over at MattelCollector.com, but again, just limbo as to what's going to happen with some of these lines. Spot's going to take a break nonetheless and get this guy opened up. When we come back, we're getting a better look at Jackalman. There's more heading away, guys. Don't go anywhere. The accessories to come include with Jackalman. For starters, he comes with a club with spike on the end. It's adorned in brown, although they've put a lot of extra darker brown in the recessed crevices of the actual club, just giving it some extra oomph. I do appreciate an extra oomph from time to time, and it actually looks pretty good. Really, really well done. His other weapon of choice is a longer axe, which has some nice additional silver paint that's been added to the blade itself. Now, they got a little too generous, unfortunately, as some areas get further back. They've still washed it with the silver, so areas into this portion of the axe still has some of that residual silver on there. It's a bit of a shame, but you know, you don't notice it too much. This other side is perfectly clean. It also has that same wood treatment done to the handle as well. You can display the figure with either or both, depending on how armored up you'd like to have Jackalman. The club fits very easily into his hand, and equally so, as well as the axe fits very well into his hand too. Again, mileage may vary depending on exactly how you want to have him displayed. He does come with all these, well, he comes with 2 extra hands. Not that he would necessarily need them, as the hands that he is currently sporting holds the weapons perfectly fine, but he does come with 2 extra if you would like to use those. All right, so let's put those to the side. We'll take the club out of his hand. We'll put that over there. And take the axe and put that over there. And let's get a better look at the figure. I do feel bad, though, that I sat on this figure without giving him a proper review, because I actually had made it so that the shipments of the figures were coming fast. You know, I think I paid for the priority shipping just to get these figures at a quicker rate than sometimes with Canada when I was getting the Masters of the Universe figures, which I didn't subscribe to, but I had picked up individual figures. I had set it for just default standard shipping, and I waited weeks for some of the figures to actually come. And I thought, nope, this time around, Spot's gonna pay the little extra and get the figures shipped right away, only for me then to sit on the figure and not do anything with him. Isn't that a level of irony to it? Comparing him side by side with the only other figure that we've gotten from these releases, the Lion-O, Jackalman ends up making Lion-O even more squat and more kind of hefty than what he looked like before. I still wish that his legs had been just a tad bit longer, or they had scaled him down a little bit better. Jackalman, by comparing him to Lion-O, Jackalman proportionately fits a little bit better. He doesn't look like he's off in one area. His legs seem like the proper length to his arms, and his arms seem the proper length to his torso. Everything on Jackalman proportionately fits the bill better than poor Lion-O here. We'll just move him off camera. The face, actually, I have to admit, while I had him in packaging, I looked at the face initially and I thought to myself, he doesn't look enough cartoon Jackalman to me. He looks like they almost went the route of giving him a more realistic look. Now, I have to rewind myself and say that actually, now that I've got him in hand, he looks really good, and he looks quite a bit like he does in the cartoon. They've blended a good middle mark for Jackalman here, where he still fits what he could look like as an animated model, and he also looks like something that could be in the toy. Now, the toy back then certainly was a much more basic release of Jackalman, which I don't unfortunately have anymore, but this Jackalman fits the bill pretty good. I like the fur that they've added onto his shoulder, as well as the fur around the cuff of his neck, which carries down to the longer bearded area of underneath his chin. He's got a somewhat Master's loincloth of fur cascading down from his belt, and he's also got a little sash and shoulder guard armor plate. The feet are also sculpted in nicely, finished quite well on the underside as opposed to just giving us a full flat bottom foot. Yes, indeed, this figure looks pretty good. The downside, though, and to nothing against Jackalman necessarily, but the problem with the figure is just the virtue of knowing that he's only one, or in this case, he's the second figure out of 4 figures that they had planned. After that, we have no idea. It's basically like going to a restaurant. Spot's going to use an analogy, and hopefully the analogy fits the feeling that I have of this. It's like going to a fancy steak restaurant and you order a salad, the salad being the first course of a possible 4-course meal. So you get the salad's delicious, but the whole time you're thinking to yourself, I'm really looking forward to that steak. And then halfway through you eating the salad, the waiter comes over and says, by the way, sir, the restaurant is gone under and we're shutting down the restaurant after you finish your salad, or after you've finished the soup as the next course. So the whole time you're enjoying the salad, which Jackalman essentially is a really delicious salad, the whole time you're thinking to yourself, well, the line is coming to an end. I almost feel like I should have got the steak first. Now, Mattel obviously had no plans that they were going to scrap the line. It was just one of those things that I'm sure they had good intentions, as they normally do, and then the line just falls apart beneath them, or the ground beneath them falls apart, and the lines end up dying as a result. Jackalman, as good as he is, if I was to hand select, if I could just kind of pick out characters that I would have wanted to get, had I only known that 4 figures were going to be released ever in this line, I hate to honestly say Jackalman would not have been one of them. I would have certainly gone with a Lion-O. I would have gone with a Mum-Ra. I probably would have even gone with a Chitara, possibly even a Panthro, but I would not have gone with Jackalman, even in the first 5 figures. Now, any toy line will tell you, you don't want to put your A-listers out on the first wave because subsequently every other wave is going to have less and less interesting characters for people who want to pick up. Which unfortunately is more the reason why Jackalman probably fit the bill, because he wasn't necessarily a top tier character, but he was a tier character that they could put in, kind of shoehorn in there until additional waves came around, where maybe a wave 2 might have had a Panthro and a Mumra, or maybe a wave 3 could have had this, this, and this, and maybe old Jackalman would have fit somewhere in that 3rd or 4th tier. Ultimately, they put him in the 1st tier as a filler character, and I don't mean filler character in the fact that he's a negative figure, but certainly, again, 4 figures, that doesn't say all that much. I think the next one is Pumaira, I think, is the next one in line. Again, it's hard for me to enjoy this salad when I know the steak is never coming. That's basically what I'm going to take away from this review, hopefully giving to you guys, the viewers. Jackalman is a delicious salad, but he is far from being a steak. By the way, as a comparison though, he is, I think, a better figure than Lino, but simply by virtue of, I just like Lino more. I like Lino, I think, as a better figure, though Jackalman is a lot better, if that makes any sense. Spot's going off on all these tangents. I haven't even looked at the articulation on this guy. But articulation on Jackalman is he has the ball joint in the head, hinged shoulders, and luckily neither the fur nor the plate on his shoulder seem to impede any sort of motion and movement. You can still easily move the arms forward and back. He has a rotation on the bicep, a single hinged elbow, a rotation as well as a hinge on the wrist. He has an upper torso crunch, a waist swivel, forward and back motion on the legs as well as the split, a swivel on the top portion of the thigh, a single hinge knee, a swivel right where the actual, what would you call that, little ringlet around his leg is. It swivels actually right there. And then he's got a hinge and pivot in his foot. Yes, analogies aside, a fine, delicious salad you are, Jackalman. But man, oh man, does it ever suck to enjoy 4 figures for a line that may not exist afterwards. Jackalman, just by sheer virtue of the fact that he's been thrown into a line that we know is dying, it saddens me, as good as the figure might be, to think what could have been instead. Today's Toy Spot was finally having a look. I know it took forever, but we're finally having a look at the Matty Collector Thundercats subscription service. This was Jackalman. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more videos heading your way. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.